Well, hey there, you're on the internet, I have some free time, and welcome to the Triple N Network, where all you newbie nib nerds can find all the news you'll need. Let's look at an ink today, shall we? Now, today's ink, I originally got in sample form because I just thought the color was interesting. It was a nice, not quite red, not quite brown, very even medium, and I really liked the sample, so I got a bottle. It wasn't until then I realized it was scented. But the thing is, I'm particularly sensitive to smells, and I had no idea this was scented until I got a bottle. And hang on, I'm going to open it. Yeah, it doesn't smell like cola. It really doesn't smell like anything except ink. So anyways, that's my experience. Not smelling anything, but apparently it's scented. And it has pretty much lived in this JinHao X450. And part of why I like these JinHao X450s is because they have a beautifully broad nib just all on its own. And this one has just always written pretty darn wet, and I don't know, this combo really appeals to me. It's, broad nib, it's wet, it's great. I just really like them, so they've pretty much stayed together. Let's check out the chromatography. As you can see, there's this brownish thing down there, but barely there, and then it goes up into almost like a purple, and then this is like a maroony brownish red, and then bright red up there. So it's got some interesting little facets to it. Let's check out the paper test. Clairefontaine 90 grams per square meter, and I bet you can see it just in the writing, how broad that is and how wet it is, because look at how dark it is. And if you see in the smear test how light it can get, shows you how wet it must have been when I was writing. And I love that, but does mean some pretty long dry times. Flow is still pretty wet. I'd say it's a wet ink. If I had to guess, I'd say it's a bit of a wet flow. No bleed feather spread. I really like the color. I think it's unique. I can't put my finger on whether it's red that is almost brown or brown that is so close to being red that it's nearly there. I mean, it's interesting. There is that sort of puddle overflow thing going on, but a good bit of it remained. However, yeah, you add water, so... Next is Rhodia, 80 grams per square meter. Again, that is a broad line, and you can tell it must have been wet because of how light it is there and then how dark it is there. 24 seconds to dry. I said nib is broad and wet, flow is still quite wet, and weird thing that happened, I started to get feathering. Like if you look at the E, the I, and I started to get bleed through, which I noticed is only down here, really. So it makes me think something might have happened to this paper. So, but anyways, I still really like the color. And it's, okay, again, something weird with this paper. But pretty decent dry, staying, water test. Yeah, some weirdness going on with that paper, but anyways. Tomoe River Paper, 30 plus seconds to dry. Again, you can see how wet it must have been, because look at how dark that is, and you get this great halo effect, where it's like darker around the edges, and I really like that. There's no sheen, but it's got this great richness of color. It's got good shading. There would be even better shading if there wasn't such a beautiful wet flow, but still. Longest dry times. This is essentially like my preferred pen paper ink combo. Like, I love this ink in this pen on this paper. Again, you get some of the puddly thing going on, but that's clear. It's pretty even. It's pretty readable. I put the paper down in something. Like you can see, like in the water test, not that much got through. I put the paper down in something and it had a strange effect. But yeah, that's gorgeous. I love that. And here's that new terrible 20-pound copier paper, where I said there was serious bleed and feather, and spread, and I mean, this is hideous. Just absolutely hideous. I mean, it exploded. And then this was the first time I had had that, I mean, where I put the drops, there was nothing to mop up. It had completely seeped into the paper. There was nothing to dry. It had completely sucked into the paper. And it started to actually act like chromatography paper. It started to suck the water in and pull it up. It's hideous. I do not recommend this ink in a broad nib, in a wet broad nib, on the cheapest paper you can find. Mead Notebook Paper, where there was bleed and feather and spread, and there was... Here it really became more red. It lost some of that brown, but... I mean, geez, look at that. Again, this is a broad nib, and it is a very wet broad nib, and this seems to be some wet ink, so maybe not the best combination here. But yeah, it's bad. It's real bad. So, next is Moleskine Notebook Paper, 7 seconds to dry, and I'm going to hold this still because I want it to really capture this color. It did something weird to this color where it turned into like old dried blood, where it's like brown and gross. So, yeah, and check out the feathering. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like this. I mean, look at the word spread. I mean, these and like gone and ugly actually start overlapping. The feathers are so extreme, they start overlapping. I have never seen anything like that. But, oh geez, yeah, that's ugly. Yeah, so, yeah. Anyways, that's DeAtramentis Cola. It's apparently scented, but even someone who's very sensitive to smells like I am didn't even notice the smell. I absolutely love it in a wet, broad pen. I think it brings out some great qualities, just not on cheap paper. So there you go for your consideration from the Triple N Network. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, please subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching. Bye.